Welcome to Executive Talk. I am here with Matías Obludzyner. It is a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm fine. Thanks, Aaron, for this invitation. It's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's awesome. So,
and everybody.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome. So I'm really excited to be talking to you. You are a leadership and communications specialist. You're an author, entrepreneur. You have so much to give and so much to tell. I love and so excited about leadership. That's actually where my personal career started. I used to teach leadership training to companies and organizations and teams and groups, and it's really something that helped propel me, into the places that I've gotten myself into, and I'm so excited to get to talk to you about leadership and entrepreneurship and a whole variety of different things today. So welcome to the show. It's exciting to have you here.
Thank you.
So before we start, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? How you got to where you are today?
Well, look, I am originally from Argentina, Buenos Aires. But I've been living in the US for more than 15 years. My wife is from there. I have a 3-year-old. She's from there. And this year, I stopped after 11 years. I stopped working for the World Bank. And we decided to do like a gap year, and we came to Argentina. So right now I'm talking to you from Argentina. And then once the idea for my wife to learn Spanish, for us to travel around, and COVID happened. So ask me. I'm open to your questions, and actually I have questions for you.
Oh, okay, awesome. I love questions, so please feel free to ask away whenever you want. So let's start from the beginning, okay? Yeah. You're a leadership and communications specialist. Tell me about that. Like, what kind of leadership do you practice and do you get involved with?
Okay, what I really love is to work closely with leaders. I've been working since I started. Even actually before I started working for the World Bank, but let's say at the World Bank, soon after I started working for them, I started to support the leadership team, the top leadership of the organization. I started working closely with them.
Okay.
Initially, as a communications specialist, that was even my title.
Okay.
But then I got very involved in not just external positioning, but also internal communications, how they communicate with their teams, how they build a team. And then I was getting into organizational development, change management. And I just love it. I learned the importance of leadership, how a good leader can make a difference in one way or the other. And I think that I can see the impact. And
right.
So I've been very lucky over the years. I worked with the amazing, high performing leaders from everywhere.
Yeah.
And I learned from that. And actually, the book that I just published, the Expanding Circle, is a framework that I built based on my experience working with leaders. And then basically I went back, I interviewed most of the people I have worked with at the time or before that. Many people I really admire. A couple of them didn't make it to the book, but most of them did. And that's it. And I talk about something that I call genuine leadership. Some people talk about the authentic leadership. And I find in all these leaders I've been working with, these are people who really make an effort, first of all, to get to understand themselves. It's like, for me, it's like essence of leadership. You need to know yourself.
course, self-awareness is the very first step you need when being able to, get into, in front of a room, or, be that responsible person for the team that you're in charge of. If you don't know, right, how your own strengths and weaknesses, if you don't know how to apply yourself, if you don't know how to, understand, your own strengths and weaknesses, then you don't know how to then, project that onto your teams or onto the people that you're working with. So I totally agree with that.
And people see that, and it's difficult that people will follow you and trust you. Yeah.
Right.
I never say that that's the only way of being a leader. This is just a kind of leadership I am interested in, and I believe that genuine leaders will be especially well positioned in the decade ahead to make a difference. So basically, I saw in these leaders, first of all, each of them is very unique, are very different. But the interesting thing is that you can see some things in common. And the first one was like a constant effort to get to know themselves. And then based on that, and perhaps this will resonate with the work you do on communications, is these people are good at telling their story. They connect with others, sharing their personal story. We're talking about professional story. It has like personal elements, but this is not about this is not therapy. But they present themselves like in a personal way, and that resonates with others, that creates trust with others. And the third element that, and I think that here is like the leading part is they really listen. They really make an effort to understand others. They don't just assume what others want or what their motivations are. And then I would say they are very good at, based on that understanding of others, creating a shared purpose, a shared narrative. And I would say last, something that I found, based on all this, they are very keen on empowering others. It's not that they might.
Let me ask you a question. Listen, obviously I don't want you to give away too much because we want people to buy your book, right? And to read that. But do you believe that anyone could be a leader or could step into leadership responsibility?
I love that question, actually. And I would say that the interesting thing for me about the concept of genuine leadership is it's not an innate characteristic. It's not that idea, oh, this person is charismatic or has, you hear many people talking about, has executive presence. I never understood what that means. It depends on the context, your team, your goal. And so these steps that I gave you are not tips. It's what does it mean? Tell your personal story. You have many stories. You can tell the story in different ways. It's very unique. It's very genuine. But the thing is that you can work on that. You can work on getting to know yourself. You can work on getting on your listening skills and getting to understand others. So in that sense, the nice thing for me is that you can learn to be a leader. That doesn't mean let's separate, some people say, let's separate like leadership with capital L. But yeah, in a way, fine. It depends on many things. And the fact that you connect with others doesn't mean that you will have the business knowledge, the technical knowledge to be a leader in a specific field.
Correct.
Speaking, I think that you can work on your leadership skills.
Right. See, I believe that there's two forms.
You work with leaders in helping them communicate, and I think that in that sense, it's very
well. Communication, and leadership, although they're connected, they're not related. Right now, I'm a believer that there's a few different varieties of what leadership means and what it stands for, right? Right, there's like a personal sense of leadership, and then what I call like a more of like a communal sense of leadership, right? Personal leadership is someone who takes responsibility over their own life, not necessarily someone that's responsible for other people, but for someone who, in my own world, for me specifically, right, to stand up for the things that I believe in, to do the things that I'm setting myself out to set accomplishments and be able to accomplish them, right, are all components of personal leadership, right? Of not letting yourself fall backwards, right? Giving yourself the momentum to move forward, even if it does not necessarily impact or reflect upon other people. Okay. That's your personal responsibility. That's personal leadership. Right. And I think that anyone, right, has that opportunity to be a personal leader for themselves. Then there's more of the communal leadership, where people who have a responsibility over other people and and over other circumstances, where people look to you to help them understand, right, what do I need to do, where do I need to go, how should I, and now, right, you're more of the figure that is that represents the leadership capacity that goes beyond you, right? Because now you're not making decisions for yourself anymore. You're making decisions for the betterment of your surroundings, whether it's your friend circle, your family, your community, your workplace, greater, right? It doesn't matter what level, how much sphere of influence you have responsibility over. As soon as you have responsibility for someone other than yourself, you're now in that role, and you need to treat it and respect it as best as you possibly can.
Yeah, makes total sense to me what you are saying. And when I talk about genuine leadership, what I'm talking is about the two things that you mentioned together. I actually, in the book, I talk about like the inner circle, the outer circle, and for me, the two things that you said are sort of a description of the inner circle plus the outer circle. And when those two things align, I think that's when your influence as a leader expands.
Right. What I love most,
you articulated that.
Awesome. What I love most is I love helping people who don't think that they have any leadership capabilities, helping them understand that they really do have leadership capabilities. See, I believe that not everyone is a leader in that regard, but I do believe that everyone possesses the ability to be a leader in some way, right? So the example that I like to give is there's always something in your life, right, that either turns your engines for the good, or that really gets you riled up for the bad, right? You think about it. So for me, right, it's right, when I drive in my car, okay, and this is the analogy that I give people, is that when I drive in my car, I am very cognizant of where I'm going, who's around me, good drivers around me, bad drivers around me. I don't have patience and tolerance for bad drivers of what's happening. If people cut me off, and I'm paying attention to that. People who are not driving well, right? It's my responsibility to get away from them, to make sure that I'm going in the way that I need to go, right? When I sit in my car and I'm driving, I have a sense of purpose, of knowing where I have to get to and wanting to get there in the best possible way. Okay. So when you're in the driver's seat in that regard, you are in total control of the responsibility and the attention for going from point A to point B in the best possible way with as little tolerance for stupidity along the way. Okay. Now that's a mentality. Okay. Sitting in the car, that's a mentality. Okay. Now, when you're out of the car, you might not operate like that, right? I don't operate like that necessarily, but the point is that the mentality exists. And for each of us as individuals, we all have that mentality in something in our life. We do. We all have it in whether it's something as simple as cooking or playing sports or, or riding your bike or driving, right? Whatever happens to be, we all have that an aspect like that. And if you're able to understand that mentality could get transferred from circumstance to circumstance, you'll understand that you have the ability to persevere as a leader with someone with purpose, right? It's just, you might not have thought about it, but the opportunity is there because you know it, because you have it in certain circumstances of your existence. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Totally, it resonates with me, what you are saying, and what I was thinking a couple of things. First of all, I was thinking where you're going. I mean, continue. But then I understood, and let me tell you a couple of reactions. The first one is, it seems that when you're driving, you are present there.
Correct.
Present, yeah, in the driver's seat. It's you are there. And then a sense of ownership, but ownership of you own your own life. Yeah. And then a sense also of responsibility. The question I have, and it's like what I work with, what I work on when I work with my clients is how you identify that moment in which you are aligned in harmony with yourself, you are present, and then how you translate that. And then if you want a further question is that, can you translate that to any scenario? And because sometimes it's like you don't belong in it.
So I actually think that comes back to what... I actually think that comes back to what you were saying before about self-awareness. I think that anyone who takes the time to become self-aware with their selves will pay attention to circumstances where they are taking control of a situation. And I absolutely believe that if you have the ability to be present in a circumstance, in one circumstance over here, you have the ability to take those same skills and apply it to your business, to apply it to your relationships, to apply it to your friends and your communities, to your workplace. You have the ability to do it. You just have to pay attention to that purposefulness that you have when you're in those situations and apply it. And it's not easy. It really is not easy. It takes practice and time, but the ability is there. You just have to be able to understand that and then learn how to apply that.
And what else you think that when you have that mentality, that mindset, and we talk about like ownership, being present, what else do you think that comes? What does that mentality allows you to do?
When you're talking about leadership, whether it's for personal leadership or for, let's use just the term communal leadership, unless you have a different term that makes more sense for you, right?
No, it's fine. Actually, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so for either of those circumstances, it's the understanding that I don't want to be complacent, meaning I don't want to just float in the water. I don't want to just be, right? I don't want to just hang out with, not knowing what I'm doing or with any good incitement of just, no direction. I don't, I want to have a goal. I want to know what I'm working towards, whether it's personal goals or professional. I want to know that I'm moving to something, and to me, the awareness of appreciating that, right, and being able to go from, benchmark to benchmark, is the ability to be able to say, I'm taking control of my situation. Right now, there's a phrase that I love, this phrase, and I'm a big believer of it, is that progress is progress, no matter how slow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. It means that as long as you are moving forward, it doesn't matter how fast you go. As long as you are moving forward, you're doing okay. And being able to position yourself in leadership, whether for personal or for professional, right? For personal or for communal, you always have to have in mind of what's the next step and how am I trying to get there in the way that makes the most sense for me and for the circumstance that I'm part of. And as long as you're what?
Let me challenge you in what you are saying.
Please.
It's for the sake of conversation. In essence, I agree with what you are saying, but you are focusing too much, perhaps, on the destination. On it might take longer, but it's you. I know where I'm going. I'm not just in the water.
Okay.
And what I see in entrepreneurs, in some of them, not in everybody, and in the leaders I admire the most, is that they are also exploring. They have that learning, exploring mentality. I would say, right. I heard not long ago, I don't remember her name, somebody who does research on neuroscience, and she was saying there is a difference there are two mentalities. One is the exploration mentality, and the other one is the exploitation mentality. Sounds a little bit mad, but the second one, but it's like the second one is like you have an objective. You go and you take what you have to take to get the results you want. The first one is the one that kids have. I have a 3-year-old, so it's like too present for me. But so if you think about these leaders, amazing leaders, what they manage to do is to find a balance between the exploration mentality and the exploitation mentality. They have that. They know where they are going. They are open also to change if they have to change the destination. But that structure that also allows them to connect with the exploration mentality, to play if you want. And that allows you also to listen to others. It's like when you are fully present, you are not thinking necessarily about what you will respond to the other person in the conversation or next. That's why I wanted to challenge.
Listen to listen, not to answer.
What I'm suggesting.
Right. So I actually agree with you. Look, I think that the breakdown is the difference between firstly, 100%. I think that's absolutely true, and that anyone in a good path will know how to stop and explore in that process, because that's part of the experience. And anyone who does not, I feel, is missing something, right? I think that's the breakdown between people who, and a part of me, excuse me for being so blunt, but for people who only think about themselves versus people who are part of a situation. Okay. Yeah. If you're in leadership role for the ego of it, right, then you don't take the time to explore because you honestly don't care about the people around you.
Yes.
If you're in a leadership position because you understand that that's the role you have to fill, right? And it's not about me as an individual, but it's about me as my ability to be, to do what has to get done, right? Then you will never lose focus of the exploration because you're always part of the process, right? You know how to listen, you know how to engage, you know how to work with people, you know how to appreciate the bigger picture, and you know how to incorporate everything.
Yes.
into the process for the sake of the goal. And so I think, in my opinion, it's the breakdown that I think you're talking about is the difference of, personal ego in my leadership versus not. And I think that's the difference. And so I'm not arguing with you. I agree with that. I think that that's part of the personality of the person, and that's part of the process of understanding and learning. And honestly, I feel that someone who is only in leadership for the personal ego, they're missing out on so much.
Yes. Yeah.
So I mean, look, but that's just my.
And I would say that in a way, you said it. You said only for the personal ego, and I would say we are humans. There is nothing wrong about ego. The thing is,
no, there's nothing wrong about ego.
And what work you put in to really understand what's behind the ego and what else you have to offer,
right?
In addition to the ego, and
for sure.
And leading others is not for it's not for everybody. If you realize, but it's like I was saying in the beginning, you can learn. Everybody can learn, can get better. Yes, everybody has to be a leader or a communal leader, as you were saying. No.
Not everyone has to be a leader, but everyone can have the ability to lead, whether for personal leadership or for communal, and it's just, and it's all about perspective and understanding the goals and, your role in that picture to get there. Yeah. So tell me something. Okay. So you mentioned before about how part of the process is communication, right? And being able to tell the story, right? Whether it's your personal story or whatever happens to be. So what goes into telling a good story in that regard?
Okay. That's a nice question. I think that it's also a challenging question because I'm talking to a communications specialist. So I will.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly the point. I'm all about storytelling, right? Being able to, how do you effectively communicate? So I love to learn about other people's tricks and tips, tricks and tips.
Okay.
So I'd love to hear.
There are many pieces to that question. So let's try. I would say let's start from what goes into, or let's start from here. As a leader, how you engage with others. A very important part is communications. It's not just communications, but it's a very important part. And some people manage to do two things. One is to craft a genuine personal story that they feel identified, that it motivates themselves, but also resonates with others and create trust with others. And the second thing that they manage to do is based on really engaging with others and understanding others, understanding the stories that others bring, they manage to create a shared narrative, a shared story, if you want. And the ones that are really, really good, link the two stories. Start telling you a story about themselves that at the same time becomes the story of all of us.
Okay.
If you're really, really good, the third element, you tell people why you need to take action now. So it's a story. There is an author in Harvard, professor, is Marshall Gans, and he talks about a story of me, something like that, a story of self, story of us, story of now. And I think that that's a nice thing of thinking about this. But to work, you need to start. I think that it's good to start from your personal story, which also requires a lot of work to understand yourself. It's not just a fluffy story.
No, it's 100%. The thing that I love most about stories is that, and it's such a true saying, is that a person will remember a story much better than they remember the facts.
Yes.
And if you really want to get to the heart of someone to help them understand and appreciate what's happening, who you are, what what's going on, don't tell them the facts. Tell them a story, and
Yes.
because a story helps them resonate
Makes
and understand it with themselves and internalize it, and they'll remember it forever.
And
So
then let me tell you how I see this. By the way, I'm not most of my clients. What I've done for years and years is work with finance people. Most of my expertise, I work in different industries, but most of
okay,
my expertise is in the financial investment industry. So these are like business people. This is like show me the numbers. So you need to find a way to gain credibility. One way that I found is first to go and study finance. So they trust me. They feel that I know, at least I can understand what they are talking about. But
okay,
you see the leaders in the finance world. There are, I'm talking about leaders. I'm not talking about somebody very successful just because makes money. I mean, some leaders, what they have is like they make sense of the numbers. For some years at the work plan, I had this weird position. I was the communications officer for the risk management function. The risk management department is basically financial risk management. Are the people who, I mean, they assess the risk of investing in very random places with a lot of risks, and it's numbers. And so my work and the leadership of that team realized that these people were brilliant, but nobody understood what they were trying to say. Or if they understood that the leadership, the CEO and the leadership of the rest of the leadership of the organization and could understand, but they didn't have the time. And they needed a few minutes to absorb that information and make a decision. Okay, so I work with them very closely to help them tell a story with the numbers. And they different. They build a reputation like, oh, these people know how to communicate. It makes sense. But, yeah. So I just wanted to say that because it's not there is a risk that somebody business oriented is listening to us and say, oh, okay, this is nice stuff, but if you work for an NGO and
so when we talk about with our clients about the importance of telling a story, right? It's not about, well, once upon a time, there was this, poor little person who was struggling to, and then he, worked hard and now he's a successful, like, no. That's not what telling a story is all about, right? And for a business and for a company, right? And it's not easy, but for a business or an entrepreneur to tell the story of their business means that they have to understand what the goal of their business is about, and why they're in business for it, right? And then they have to help their clients or customers understand why it's important. And so when you're creating a story, it's not about me, right? It's not about me and why I built this and why I'm so great and blah, blah, blah. That's not what it's about. Your story is focused on your customers and on your clients and how they can resonate with your business to say, got it, that makes sense. Yes, okay, cool. I like what I like what you sell. I want to be your I want to buy your product. I want to be part of your business. I want to buy your service, right? And it's such about articulate communication. And the tricky thing also is that it's not a one-time sell either. It's not like you get up there once, you tell your story, and you're done. You have to always be communicating to your audiences, always, right? And you always have to give them reasons to continue to want to be part of your circle, of your sphere, of your opportunities. And the more that you can continue to bring them in to that cycle, the more you're going to see that you're going to have loyalty, you're going to have growth, and you're going to have, you're going to have success. At the end of the day, you're just going to have full success.
I like how you put it. It's like one of the key elements is to get to the why. It's like the essence. Or in the beginning of the conversations, we even talk about like what ticks inside yourself, the motivation, and it's like when you are developing a shared story, a communal story, it's also what the why. Because then to get into what the organization does and even how it does, it's many businesses do that.
Correct.
The brands that really create an identity and clients and say, I want to be part of that, and people like employees or prospective employees say, I want to be part of that. That organization, they get to the core.
Correct.
Yeah.
See,
I like to say we can say the why. I like that idea also. If you can think about the Aleph.
Okay.
You know Jorge Luis Borges, or it's an Argentinian writer, and it takes that idea of Aleph, and as you know better than I do, is silent. It's a silent letter, and it's the beginning. It's the essence. It's there. You get to the Aleph, and then you can grow from there. And I like to think about when you create that shared narrative in that way. And the second thing that came to my mind when I listen to you, it's not a one-time thing, and it's not a fixed story. You create a story with the others, with your clients, with your employees, with other leaders, with your partners. And that's why perhaps we can think about one thing is the narrative.
Yeah.
And then many stories.
Correct. See, the really successful companies and businesses are the ones who are able to create an image or create a culture around their brand, right? Yeah. So it's not about again, like why is we're in business to help, blah blah. Okay, that's a mission statement. That's great. Okay, we're in business to sell the best product of best earphones. Amazing. Okay, cool. That's fine. But if you're able to create an image, right? If you're able to create a culture around your brand, and what I mean by that is that to create scenarios and opportunities for people to see themselves using your service or product, that's where you are most successful, right? And all the best brands in the world today, when you see their commercials and you see their advertisements and you see their content, right, long form and short form, you see it all over the place. It's all about, if each one are different stories and narratives that people can see themselves being a part of. And that's why it's successful, because they turn the story element to their users. It's not about them. They turn it to their users, and their users can physically and imaginatively see themselves as part of that brand. And that is where you will get that true success. And that is the real essence of what it means for a brand to be able to tell a story in a successful way.
I actually heard you in another episode saying something. You will. What you said, so you will tell this.
Wait! You heard another one of my episodes? That's amazing! No way! I have listeners. That's so cool. No.
Seriously, I mean, if I'm gonna be here, I need to know what will. No, and you said that. Look, I go to talk to a client, and you say, honestly, the only one who cares about your logo and your website is you, and if you're going to create a brand, the thing is what others will make of it, and what the brand means or will eventually mean for other people. What the brand will do for them. What problem is gonna solve at the end of the day.
Correct.
You say something like that, or I just daydream.
No, I said the only people who care about your logo are the people who pay for it and the people who make it. Right? Yeah. No one else cares, right? They'll accept whatever you present to them. Okay. Because a brand is not about your logo. It's not about your website. It's not about your colors. Your brand is all about what people think when they hear your name.
Mm-hmm.
Do they think good things? Do they think bad things? Do they think, that's, do they think that's something I want to be a part of or not? Right. Every single piece of that emotion is part of your brand, and your brand extends way beyond you and the people who sit in your office. If you have a business that delivers products to customers, okay, the delivery people are part of your brand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you have people who answer the phones in a call center, those people are part of your brand, and every interaction that a person has with your brand is important, and it goes way beyond your logo and your website. And so for anyone who thinks, I don't know how many times I could say this because it's never enough. If anyone only thinks that my brand is my logo and my website, you have it all wrong. Because at the end of the day, the only people who care about your logo is the person who bought it and the person who made it. Everyone else will just accept what you give them, but will internalize what your brand means based off of their experiences.
Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, we go back to the client, the audience. It's about them. It's not about the entrepreneur,
Right.
the company, or the leader. And it's about them what they will feel, but also and ultimately what they will do. It's like they will join this company, they will go the extra mile for the project that you are leading, or not. So I like to think of what concrete behaviors others will take. But the type of leadership I'm trying to describe in the book, The Expanding Circle, is when, let's say, the entrepreneur manage to marry that story, that narrative, that brand that creates meaning, a collective meaning for what's important to that person, for that leader, because that's when it's gonna feel really in harmony with herself, himself, and it's gonna the best. It's like what you were saying. It's gonna be driving. It's gonna feel like fully present, and that's not something fixed. There is no a unique answer, but it's work. It's a continuous work in progress.
100%. I have a saying. Anyone who knows me will know that I have a saying. It goes like this: if you're going to sing, sing out loud. Meaning, you don't have to get up to the microphone and sing. You don't. But if you're going to, belt it out. Okay. If you're going to speak, speak with passion. Okay. And so, because if you get up to the microphone and you just mumble through something to get it out, you're not doing anyone any favors, right? If you are choosing to step into a position to make your voice heard, so then make your voice heard and do it at the best that you possibly can.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And if you are not doing that with them, try to understand why. What's going on? Perhaps you are in the wrong organization, in the wrong like cause, or perhaps you need to do more work with yourself. And if you don't do that work, you will feel miserable every day.
Well, let me ask you a question. Well, firstly, that's 100% true. If you're in a job or you're in a position where you don't want to belt it out, you don't want to speak with passion, you should probably reevaluate what you're doing and try to, if maybe you need to be thinking about doing something else. I totally agree with that. So let me ask you a question, right? So if you're helping an entrepreneur, right, get out and continue to do his thing, how much of that entrepreneur's success, right, is dependent on his own or her own ability to just promote themselves to do the best for themselves, as opposed to finding an environment, right, with other people that, you know, that reinforce and support your efforts. How important, let me just refine my question, is how important is your environment as an entrepreneur to propel yourself forward, or do you think that it's all individual and all that personal push that you're putting out?
Yeah. So first, I would say it depends, but that's not a very helpful answer. Podcast. It's like long question, it depends. Look, it depends on the business you are, what your goals are. I would argue that, and this is the kind of leadership I'm interested in, the kind of clients I want to work for.
Right.
If you're trying to do something meaningful, I doubt that you will be able to do it on your own. So if you want to be a leader, you'd better start working on how to build that team, to build that following or those partnerships. So, and if you make it about yourself, it's going to be big. Having said that, this whole idea of genuine or authentic leadership, it's on some people say it's naive. It's like, hey, you're authentic. You go around and you just like bossy. You boss people around. No, that's not the point. It's about really finding your voice that connects with others and really understanding others. But this doesn't mean that just because you know how to connect with others, how to communicate, you will succeed in business. This doesn't, it's a complement to a good business strategy. And I would argue that when you have the right business idea, the right technical skills, but you don't know how to connect with others, it's going to be very difficult to implement that idea. Perhaps if you know how to connect with others and you get it wrong, because people will give you a second chance. But again, it doesn't supplement a good business idea, technical skills, it's a complement.
Right.
Did I answer your question?
A little bit, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, did.
You can push back.
I have a follow-up for you in a second. Don't worry. But look, if you're the kind of person that needs everyone to like you all the time, you're not going to be a great leader, because you're going to be too focused on, you know, being friends with everyone. And when you're friends with everyone, then you tend not to take the aggressive steps that you need in order to get yourselves to the next level, right? So when you're surrounding yourself, okay, yes, be yourself. Nobody wants to be a dick. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants, you know, to be the person that's bossing everyone around, you know, and like telling me what to do and that. No, you could still be a human being. You could still be compassionate. You could still be a person. But if you need to be in that role where everyone is your friend, then you're not gonna get very far with your leadership skills, because a strong leader is someone who is not afraid to go against the current sometimes, because they understand that's what you have to do in order to grow, in order to challenge, in order to succeed. You have to be able to take a stand that might not be the popular opinion, but with your experience, with your leadership, with your training, with your you know, with your guidance, right? So, right, with the pieces that you have with your mentorship, right? So if you know that there's something you have to do, it's your responsibility to do it. And if you're not, you're actually hurting the people around you.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's really important. It's really important. We can't forget that.
One, I can tell you the story. One of the stories I tell in the book is the story of Rachel Carr. Rachel Carr is now the dean of the Fletcher School. The Fletcher School is part of Tufts University. It's one of the most prestigious universities of the US, and the Fletcher School is one of the most prestigious international relations schools in the US.
Right.
And Rachel started her career as an environmental and social activist. She's from a working class neighborhood in England, so she comes from a very humble environment, family, and she became this activist. And for different circumstances, she got to work. She got to the work bank. Actually, a part of the work bank that is called IFC, and that's private sector, invest in the private sector. And she was a pain in the neck because she would be the person always saying things that the senior management didn't want to hear about inclusion, openness, diversity, really doing the right thing for the environment when we also invest. But she got to the very top. Then she got to the very top of, she was hired by the UN. She was for years the special envoy of the Secretary General for renewable energy. Okay. And so for different circumstances that align with her inner circle, she wanted to stop this crazy traveling, non-stop life, and she accepted this position as the dean of one of the most traditional schools of international relations and diplomacy. But people were like, why? She doesn't have a PhD. She's not a scientist. She's not a researcher. But they realized they needed to modernize the school. And so she came to shape things. She has a very unique personal story. She understood that to change things, she needed to connect with people. She needed allies. So right away, she went to talk to students. They have different communications outlets, newsletters, town halls, and so she went all there. She was not afraid of telling her story, and she was always she's gay, and she was sitting on boards where everybody was she was the first female, and everybody was a white guy. So she told that story. But then I talked to her for this book. I have known her for a long time. When I talked to this book, I said, okay, but this is a very traditional school. I imagine that professors who have been researchers forever, they don't really want to many changes. And she said, I work with the 80-20 rule. I really try to include, I really try to create this common narrative, shared goal. But then if you are not in and you show me that you are tough, and she says, I'm also tough. It's and you know that. So what I'm saying is yes, leadership is not about friendship. It's about responsibility, and you have a mission.
Correct. And if you don't take that, with seriousness, then you really are doing a disservice to the people that you're working with. And you owe it to them also to be honest with whether it's good or bad. You owe it to them to be honest in order to help everyone get to be the best that they could be, and to achieve the common goal that that you're working for. Yeah, 100%. So if you're giving someone a quick advice about if you're talking to an entrepreneur and you're giving them a few tips right off the bat, here are a few things that you could do to start your process of leadership, to start your journey, to start your communication, clarity. Okay, what are the first few things for someone who's listening to this and they say, okay, so what do I need to do? What pieces of advice would you give in order to help someone start their path or to help establish their path in a stronger way?
Well, they can call me. That's
that's always good.
That's always helpful. And then the second thing that comes to my mind is like the honest answer would be another, it depends. And what I'm trying, I think that you can have a method to start your exploration, but there is no formula. I see a lot, like business books or like articles, business magazines, like 5 keys to this or that, which is fine. But for me, it's about finding your own voice, your own desires, business goals, ambitions also. And so I think that they are not going to come to me for to assess the business plan. That's, I am assuming they are talented. Usually, people who come to me are very talented. They know their stuff.
Right.
So I would encourage them to work on their self-awareness, and there are different ways of working on that, and it's very unique. Some people do coaching, and some people it's like just find the time to be with themselves and writing. But then I would say don't stay like this is a dynamic thing. You need to test your assumptions about yourself and go there and start doing. And then I would also advise to try to really listen to others, which also takes time. So I would say start from yourself, work on yourself, try to connect with others, really trying to understand others. It's not just about the stories that you have to tell, it's about the stories that others have to tell. Then the idea of working your personal story, personal/professional story. It's like how you communicate that I care about this and I think that this is a good business idea and I would like you to join me because we are going to make this or that difference. And then start working on the shared story, which that can only happen in collaboration with others. And then don't be afraid to delegate. You cannot do everything. That's why I'm saying this kind of leadership is very important going forward. I mean, in the business world today, nobody can do everything.
No, 100%. 100%.
So 5 things, but I wouldn't take this as a formula, as tips. It's like, okay, try to explore to see what happens. At the end of the day, is to find your own space.
I love that. So when you're talking about, finding the people, right, building loyalty, what are you looking for when you build a team for yourself or for your goal?
I try to first I know where I try to start knowing where I want to go, and where I want to go can be I want to understand where I want to go, meaning like I really don't know, but I want to reach out to you to try. So I'm not wasting your time. But anyway, I think that you are saying once you have a project and you need to form a team, what you do.
In other words, you're building loyalty, right? You're building a team of people to work with you in order to achieve the goals that you're working towards.
Yeah.
So what do you look for when you're building that team in order to maximize success? What are you looking for in those people?
But I think that is about understanding others, taking the time to understand others, and finding people who are committed to the shared goal. It's not about loyalty to me, it's about commitment to be part of this project. I mean, the book, for instance, it was this during a year that my wife and I decided to take off, but I didn't work on my own. I work with 2 editors. I work with the graphic designer, all people I have known for a long time. And I talked to them about this project. And yes, you can say, oh, it's about me. I am the author. But they understood the point of this and they wanted to be part of this. So I would say, in a way, I want them I don't want them to invite me to be part of my project. I want to invite them to be part of their project.
In other words, and to share and respect. In other words, to share and respect everyone's strengths that they bring. And the assumption is that if you're bringing people, if you're building loyalty and you're building a team, it's because you respect the people that you're working with and you want to hear what they have to say, right?
Yeah.
And it's not you don't want yes people. You want people who will challenge you and who will fight with you in order to make sure that we're achieving the goals that we need to achieve.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
I hear. All right. We're going to wrap up, but don't go away. Okay. All right. So firstly, it has been awesome. I am so excited that you came to talk with me today. I learned so much from talking with you. It has been enlightening and fascinating, and you clearly have so much to give in this industry. How does someone get in touch with you? How do they find you?
One way, it's like my website. It's matioblu.com, matioblu.com. They can find me on LinkedIn. And if not, they can just send me an email, matias@matioblu.com.
Okay.
It's fine. Just send me a note and we will start the conversation.
You're on. Matías, it has been fantastic. Thank you for coming on Executive Talk. It has, like I said, really, really great to connect and to meet you and to hear about all these wonderful things. I hope this is the start of a wonderful friendship and communication, moving forward from here on in. And anytime and every time you are invited to come back, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for this invitation. It's been a pleasure for me to be here. It was fun.
Amazing. Okay. How was that? That was pretty good, no?
Good. Are we done? Or?
We're done. Yeah. Now we're done. Now's all the behind the scenes stuff. So
I think that no, because it's still live.
I know. It's gonna keep recording for another few minutes, but
it's fun. I'm new to this. To do it myself. I've been working with principals for a long time, and since two things happened. First, I decided to change my career after 11 years working for a very large organization. By the way, I didn't want to get too much into what I did for the World Bank or what section. That's interesting just for people who work at the World Bank or who live in one. And then, so that's one thing. And it's okay, now I will do my own thing, which doesn't mean working alone or not joining another company, but I want to do my thing. So that's
I love that. Yeah.
I need to be in the driver's seat in a way. And usually I work for other people. I prepare other people for things like that. I used to do it when I was way younger. I used to be a TV host. It was a long time ago, 20 years ago. I was a teenager, the host. It was Discovery Kids, something like that.
I love that. Really.
So I am quite and so nothing. I'm doing it. The way for me to market my book is very niche. It's not going to be a New York Times bestseller, but it's doing very well. And I'm trying this. I'm doing a few podcasts to see whether, first, if I enjoy it, and I do. Second, if I have some feedback, and also, of course, I check whether I'm selling more books. But the purpose is not to sell the book.
No, look, the purpose is for people to see that, you're a professional and that you're an expert in what you're talking about. They'll buy your book because they like and appreciate what you have to, because they like and appreciate the value that you're providing for them, And so,
because if you see the book, would be, perhaps you are interested. If you can, it's on Amazon. It's $10 the ebook, and I don't think the print copy will get very fast to Israel. Okay. Sorry, and by the way, check it, please check it. because if you're interested, I'm quite close with everybody I interview and I feature in the book. And there are some leaders who are really amazing, really like senior leaders at the IFC, which is this private sector part of the World Bank, the guy of Microsoft for Latin America, Rachel Kai, the number of them. There is like a guy from the US, David Auerbach, who graduated from MIT, got a grant to start up a for-profit company in Kenya, and he does like bathrooms, like a sanitation company that serves in the slums of Kenya.
Wow.
I talk about like cross-cultural communications, and I tell the story of. So these are like people that perhaps you are interested. I can put you.
I love learning about this. I love reading about, like, I love the stories. I love learning from people, and I love trying to, adapt about, people's skills and, things, mentalities. I love being able to see what applies and how I could, continue to grow and develop that. So I'm all about it. I think it's wonderful.
So what I'm trying to understand is like, okay, you're in Israel, but you try, I mean, your target audience, your clients, not just the podcast, but like your company are in the US, or you work.
We have clients. Yeah, so we have clients in a variety of places, right? So we have clients in the United States, but one of our specialties that we offer is we help companies who want to break into English-speaking countries. So if you're a country, and if you're a business in Spain, in Russia, in Moscow, in Israel, in wherever, and you're looking to grow your business in English-speaking markets, that's where we come in, right? So we work with those businesses, because oftentimes what happens is that they might have someone who speaks English in their company who sits in Spain with them. But just because you speak English doesn't mean that you know how to penetrate the American or the European market.
That's something that you can sell, yeah. And,
right.
And one thing that got my attention is that I go to your website, but you don't appear there. Why not?
Yeah.
You should.
I do. I'm on the About page.
No.
Yes.
I was like curious about that. You are in there.
Go to executivemedia.co/about us.
Yeah, I know.
I'm there.
Executive, look.
I promise, I'm there.
No, I'm sure you know your website. Clients. Okay, let me show you. Let me see.
Okay, I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah.
Our story.
Keep going. Yeah.
Consider.
Okay, keep going. Okay, keep going. Okay, you're on the wrong page. That's why. There's another page.
Okay. About us. About?
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
No, same. I mean, perhaps messed up. Things. My website also messes up.
No, 1 second.
I went there and I was like, why? And now that I'm talking to you, you are very likable, and people want to. And I imagine you.
One second. Because you're looking at the mobile version.
Yes, I am.
On the mobile version, we decided not to put ourselves, right, for space issues. We decided not to put ourselves on the mobile version, because when you sell a service, right? Because look, firstly, it's if we had space, if you go to on your computer, you'll see us. We're there. But once you're already like creating different spaces on your mobile, we wanted to focus on what's most important. And honestly, people don't care so much about us. They care about they care about who you work with.
Once I like your it's very focused on what you do. I like that, but I was saying like second, okay, before hiring you, I said, who are these people? But no,
No, look, I appreciate the feedback. I will think about it. Maybe we should put ourselves on the mobile version. I don't know.
my website, for instance, it's like I was not that keen on having a website. It's again always new for me. I always work for other organizations, and so I did the book. I did it with a few people. We formed like a team, and they were saying, "No, you need the website." And honestly, my clients are like this. It was a year that I took. And these are clients that I carry from my previous life. And
Right.
so they said, no, the book
well,
is
look, the problem is that you need a website, because if you don't have a website, people don't necessarily believe that you're real or that you exist. And so
it's a little bit like I go, it's like too much about me. Like I might change.
Look, it's your website really serves unless you're an e-commerce site or a news site, right, where you're constantly drawing traffic to your website, because people are coming to you for new value every day or every few hours for whatever it is. Your website really just serves as an online business card, right? And yes, you don't need an amazing website for to do business with people, right? Because people will trust and respond to you, but the people want to know that you're a real person, right? They want to know that you have real successes. So if you're not going to have a website, then you should at least be very active on social media. If you're not going to have a website, you should at least be super active on interviews and podcasts. If you know what I mean, that way, then people can still understand and appreciate what you do and how you do it. And it's not necessarily about the flash, right? Look, I used to work my old company back in the day. Our website was horrible, right? It was horrible. And people would ask me, they say, why is your website so bad, right? You want us to be good, but look at you, your website sucks. Yeah. And I said to them, well, that's because I spend all my time working for you. And I'd rather you look good than I look good. And he was, oh, okay, fine.
But how you promote and how can I help you? I'm on LinkedIn, I'm quite active. I mean, for being an individual, I have more than 4,000 people, and I also have a distribution list that I send very few emails, like when I launch the book or things like that. Next time that I send an email, I can include it. So tell me where to post it, and if I can be of help to promote this.
Sure, for sure. Look, this is this interview is going to go live in about a week. It's going to go on social media. It's going to go on our website, and it's going to go on all of our podcast channels: iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all major podcasts. And I'll send you the link to when it's going, and I'll please feel free. And once you have it, you could use it however you want. Use it for your self promotion. Pull out clips that for you talking nicely about about leadership and communications. And if there's anything that you spoke to you, please but I'll let you know. It'll be in about a week or so. And
you do it, but if you can, it would be nice that you do a post. You post this on LinkedIn, like thanks, whatever, Matías. So it doesn't look that much like self-promotion. It is self-promotion, but still.
Don't worry. When it'll go up soon, I'll let you know when it's up. You could, and then I'll take all of your self-promotional opportunities so that you don't.
I reached it. I said thanks, Aaron.
Whatever it takes. Look, I'm in the business of helping people and working together, partnerships, and is the way to go. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Often you go to the States?
Well, I haven't been in a long time now. I haven't been in about a year. But when normal flying circumstances exist, I'm there a couple times a year.
Where?
All over. Everywhere from the West Coast to the East Coast and everywhere in between.
Okay, so usually, I mean, I live in Washington, D.C., so next time you go, and I have not a trip to, I don't know when I will go back to Israel, but and I will let you know. But if you are
Well, I'll make you a deal. Whoever goes to the other place first, let us know.
Okay. Thanks for this opportunity. It was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. I hope it was fun. I hope it was good. I really appreciated your insights and your value, and I really appreciated talking with you.
A little bit like metaphysical, but you say metaphysical like too philosophical, but it was good. I mean, it's my fault.
Look, I try really hard actually. People ask me about this, right? Because I work in marketing and branding, right? And so people ask me, they say, well, how come I don't talk about like, how to set up Facebook ads, or how to, run a Google Analytics, or or AdWords.
I mean, I guess you don't want to be known for that. You want to be known for that. I take care of that, but
no, because also I find that speaking those details about campaigns speaks to very few people.
Yeah.
And if you have a question, I'll be happy to talk to you about how to do your keyword research and how to set up an ad and how to, use what graphics it makes sense to you. That's fine. I'll have that conversation with you. But I feel like most people actually care about the more global conversation. And so I, on purpose, don't talk about the details because I feel like it excludes too many people who are not in that field and who don't understand it enough to actually want to pay attention. So I on purpose talk in a more global component because I want to be more inclusive and talk about more of like the bigger business and the bigger ideas of what goes into branding, marketing, business, entrepreneurship.
Good. Okay. It must be late there, right? What time is there?
It's about 10:15.
Not that bad.
Okay. Yeah, it's not too bad. Anyways, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have an awesome day.
Bye. Thank you.
We'll be in touch. Thank you. Bye.